Today, this is E.T. here in sunny Australia. Today I want to talk about, or try to help create an understanding about the Nebra sky disk and how it was the female of the human species that developed the concept of time as an accounting system to allow for a more structural system of living where in settlements and farming. Obviously, every animal, birds, beasts of the prairies, all animals, or most animals, understand seasons naturally and are driven by them. The breeding cycles and the seedlings, the needs to feed the children and the babies is a natural cycle, and even the Aboriginals followed around the seasons and had to look for food, and they had their system of observation of the seasons. But the time itself as a concept, as an accounting system, and time, all accounting system is a breakdown of time, the value of time as a concept. It's observing someone analyse the Nebra sky disk, and it doesn't matter who that person is, they don't want to be known, but observing that person do this stunned me with the way instinct allowed them to analyse the Nebra sky disk. And it come from that observation that the Nebra sky disk, or the concept of time, which was in the Nebra sky disk, was developed by women. The Nebra sky disk, what I'm saying, is something that a female priestess would have had, not a male priest, because women have got something, all have something in common. And now I don't know how it works if women are in a family sort of tribe, which small farms, early settlements, which farming was about, would have developed. But maybe they were all at the periods around about the same time, because they were in sync with each other, and in sync with the moon's rising. Now, every full moon, which is 28 days, coincides basically with a menstrual cycle. So we can observe from that women, or females, may have been able to count. Of course they would have counted, oh, it was 13 periods, bleeding periods, since the moon was in a position, same position as it is in now. And then over, I think, the 19-year lunar swing of the lunar cycle, that would have said, well, it's slightly moved because of the way the earth moves around the sun. We're going into that astronomy right now, but it's to do with that, of course. It's all galactic. But basically, because women were allowed or naturally observe the periods and counted, oh, it's 28 days, the moon's up again, and then they were able then to know and determine when the moon would be up, and that would tell them how long a year was, because a year is not something you need to know as a definite period until you are farming. And that's where the celebration of the end of the year was developed, and Easter or Easterus and different autumn festivals, they've been around for a long time, and they're all predicated on the females observing the menstrual cycle and noting that, because it's far more important for females to feed their children than it is the men. And although men would have worked in the fields, we know this: men were hunters to prove your manliness, and women more than likely invented farming. But how farming and growing of crops came about is another story. Through the long periods of the Ice Age, when people were nestled or stuck in some places, when they defecated in a communal toilet, say outside of a cave or safety of an area, a place where they had a fire going and kept them warm, then there they defecated. They noticed after next year where they defecated, you know, some of the things they'd eaten sprouted. And that observation itself was a precursor to basic horticulture, and you know, that did give rise to part of the reason farming came about, as a means of supplying a genuine and accountable produce. And by having women, the advent of women observing their periods coinciding with the annual cycle of the moon, that then meant women were the authority on what time it was during the year, or what period of the year it was, because they had the definite record, and they could keep that in account that with other women who were coinciding with their period. I'm just not knowing for certain that all women menstruated at the same time in more basic systems, or what we call root systems, than we have now, where they're all over the place. But that's just an observation that I've made, a suggestion that I can't actually prove, but I'm just suggesting it was women who created farming, because women have this prerogative, survival imperative, to feed their children, which men don't necessarily have until they marry them, until you actually, it's my woman, that's my woman permanently, till you own the children. And then that's all sort of a bit natural anyway, but it was women, I'm suggesting, that created time as an accounting mechanism to make sure the annual harvest and the annual wood chopping and the annual crop gathering was all done within a certain period, so that people were safe and secure through the long winters, the cold winters in the northern hemisphere. Anyway, that's just another thought to maybe change the idea of orthodoxy has about human nature, and also the idea, because now it's all about patriarchal religions, and they're the biggest cause of war on earth, is patriarchal jealousies and religions of other patriarchal systems. And I don't know if women are any better or worse in that sense, but maybe if we understood the role of women in human history, which they were the superior or the worshipped being early on in the human historical cycle or development, or its cultural evolution, and that stopped. The golden age of humanity was then, and when priests came along, although it got more organised and more technical and all that sort of advances in technology came about, whether it's any better than before, because it's really hard to judge. That's a philosophical point, because if you're happy and content in your existence, no matter where you are in time, that's what matters. So that's another way of looking at societies that are not technically advanced as other societies. But there you go, women invented or discovered the concept of time as an accounting mechanism, so therefore all the future systems of organising humanity has come about from that. So time is now a measurement used to create values. Anyway, that's his ET, hoping this stirs about the pot on the history of humanity and gives women the value that they have, because it's we all know women have to feed their children. Men may not be as responsible as they ought to be. Alright, thank you. This is ET. Bye bye.